All right, today we're going to learn how to do a drywall repair in a ceiling. That's the one. There's a pipe sticking into it, so that just adds a little bit extra fun to it. So, how we discovered this, somebody had put a smoke alarm directly over this, and I told the homeowner, hey, your smoke alarm is leaking, and it was leaking water because this is improper. It shouldn't come down this far because you can't properly put your drywall in. So I'm going to show you how to get around that without moving your plumbing. So stay with me. Okay, so I do drywall a little different than a lot of people. So you'd look at this hole, you'd say, okay, I need to straighten out my edges and get everything perfect, and then measure how big, how wide, how long it is. I am not that guy. I am actually going to cut a piece of drywall that's bigger than the hole, stick it up there, trace it, and then cut what I traced out. And it'll be perfect every time. This is what I've got traced out to be bigger than my hole right now. So I'm gonna cut this piece out and I'll set it up on that ceiling and trace it. Oh yeah, I'll also be repairing this little tiny hole here. It's a phone jack, but nobody uses phones anymore, like landlines and stuff. So I will be filling that hole in, but that's a different video. So right now I'm going to cut this piece out for the ceiling. So you see I have it marked all the way across and all the way across. This is the piece that I want, so I can cut all the way across here and then all the way across here. If you never cut drywall, watch how easy this is. Just score it. Scoring means you're just going to cut into the drywall a little bit through the paper, and then you're just going to snap it. Boom. Then you'll come around the back side with your knife and just cut the paper off. Bada boom, bada bang. Okay, and then you do that again with the second piece. Cut it straight across. Snap it. Cut it. Toss it. So that's our piece for the ceiling. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to have awesome edges or anything. That's the cool thing about the way I do it. So I'll stick it on that ceiling, trace it out, boom. It's like a lid on a pumpkin. It just fits every time. All right, here we go. Let's see if I can zoom in for you a little bit. Maybe, that might work. So like I said, it won't matter which way you twist it as long as it fits over the existing hole. That'll be how it goes. So then I'll draw an arrow right here and an arrow right there. That way I know this is where these two arrows meet, that's where I drew it at. I'll trace it all the way around. Take it down, and now I cut out the stuff that I traced. I should make millions for this. Just kidding. So a couple different tools you can use to cut that drywall out. A regular utility blade if you'd like. You could use a drywall keyhole saw to cut it back and forth. I prefer to go the power side of that, which would be a Sawzall with a fine finish blade on it. Or you can use a back saw, or in this case we call it a fine tool. It's a perfect tool for cutting out holes like this with precision. So as I'm cutting this out, I don't want to make a big mess, so I will run R2D2 over here, which is that's what I call him, R2D2. It's just a shop vac. So I'll run that with one hand and one of these mad tools with the other hand. All right, I got the ceiling cut out. I actually adjusted my lines over a little bit to accommodate to land on my stud here on the one side. But the other issue is, like I told you before, is this drain pipe sticks down too far. This P-trap here sticks down too far, and my drywall won't sit flush with this. So I'm gonna have to cut the back of my drywall out so that it will sit flush in there. And To do that, I have marked on the back of my drywall where that P-trap elbow will sit. So I'm just going to cut this out, but I'm not going to cut through it so that from the front, this will look like it's solid and unbroken. So I started with just scoring with my knife in this rectangle here. I'll peel off the paper, and then I'll slowly just chisel out a little bit of this so that it's a little bit thinner than it is now. Okay, so now I've chiseled out the back of this, about a 1/4 inch off of it out of the 1/2 inch thickness. So we'll fit it up there and see if it fits nicely. Okay, so what I've done now is I've put in nailers. So I've got a little bit of 2x4 here, there, because on this side I had the floor system truss that came, or the floor joist that came across, and then I just put in 3 little extra support pieces. Threw in some extra screws. Now I'll put in the piece that I cut and screw that in, and we'll see how it does. Another thing to note also, if you're doing this by yourself at home, once you put these pieces in and you put your board over it, you're not going to see where these are. So you're going to want to go through and just mark where they are. So throw a little line here, a little line there, and then it's going to be basically there to there. Here you're going to do the same thing. Just mark it off so you know where you're going to be screwing on this side. Another way to tell is this screw and this screw, I can come over 2 inches and put another screw in, as well as here. Actually this one you can't because this is tight up against the other floor joist. But then here I have screw, so I can come over 2 inches or 1.5 inches and put in another screw. But I will just mark that just in case. Just makes it easier. Okay, so what I'm using for fastening is the Grip Right drywall screws. These are coarse threads. They'll come in a box like this. I don't know who opened this box. I don't open boxes like that, but I don't know, maybe I dropped it. Anyway, that bugs me. Anyways, that's what I'm using. I'm using the number 6 by 2 inch. So they're 2 inches. That'll give me enough to go through 1/2 inch of drywall and plenty into the wood. So this is a coarse thread, which you can see the threads are far apart. And they have another kind of drywall screw, which is called a fine thread, which would be more for going through drywall into metal or other things like that. All right, so now we're going to install this piece of drywall up on that ceiling. Put you right there. Just grab it, dust off, make sure there's no debris on the back of it. And then again, you're going to match your arrow to the other arrow. Should be pretty easy. And then this is where you want to use your head. Hold it up. So I know I have some wood right here. I'll attach that. I'll come to the other side and attach that there. And likewise, just throw a couple extra screws in it. Make sure you try to get it as even as possible. Sorry, the video ran out. This is 1/2 inch drywall, so obviously putting 1/2 inch drywall back onto the ceiling. It's easier for mudding if it's all flush and the same size. And you just want to set the screw just under the paper. You don't want to push it all the way through the drywall because then it'll just pop. Just set it just under the paper. And that'll do it. I'll put one more screw in down here. If I didn't mention it before you start cutting this out, put a drop cloth down, something to catch all of the extra debris so you won't make a big mess all over the nice wood floor. Easy to clean up. Okay, so everybody watching today is going to get the 3-for-1 special. So I have right here this corner bead all the way down has cracked right at this stairway. So you can see it's cracking all the way down. It's just both sides of the corner, very loose, and as well as over here. So I'm going to put some screws in that. You can see here there's already a screw or a nail that wasn't in it, and it's missed, and that's not securing that down. So we're going to fix that as well. Just a few screws right in it. That didn't work. And again, you just want to go right below. So these are actually going to get driven right through the metal of the corner bead into the stud behind it. So you just need a couple screws to hold it down. You take it's a little push to get it through that metal. Nice and secure now. We really just need a couple screws in it. And we'll go through and mud that up. Okay, so the third part of this trilogy will be this phone jack behind me. You can see it's just a regular phone line. You don't need to secure this or put any wire nuts or anything on the end of this. You can just tuck it in the box, and then we're going to put a patch over this. I did cut out some of this paper here to get a match on the paint. It's a little bit off. You can see the color difference from here to here. It's a little bit off, but no worries. It's close enough because we are repainting this entire place as well. So we're going to go from that ceiling. We did the other crack repair on the stairs, and now I'm going to show you how to do this patch. There's a couple different ways, and I'll show you a few of them. Okay, so wallboard. Let me flip this camera around. Wallboard makes a few metal and mesh patches. Wallboard is just a drywall tool company. They'll make a 4x4 patch and 6x6, and I think they do make a larger patch as well, like an 8x8. Typically, this is a 4x2 box, which you could run your repair patch right over that. And it does have a little rigidity in the metal. It does tend to give a little bit, so I kind of prefer filling this in, and I'll show you another method instead of doing this standard stick and patch. So when you peel this off, it does have a sticky back. You just stick it over there, mud over it a few times, and it's voila, it's good to go. The bad thing about that is you can still be able to push into this because this will be hollow behind it. So I'll show you another method. So the other method I like to use is actually just taking a piece of drywall, and I'm not going to do the same thing I did on the ceiling patch. I'm going to show you another trick, but I will have a drywall backer that will go inside of this, and then they'll have paper around it. So again, this one's kind of simple. It's got a couple little tricks to it. So I'm just going to take a piece this big. I don't know how big this is. I'm just going to cut it up. I'll probably make, since that is a 4x2, I'll probably just do something around an 8x8. So I'll just cut this like that. I'll cut it in half. I'll just snap that, cut the line, and then I have this piece here. So I'll show you what I'm going to do with this piece here now. Is I'm going to cut the back of this like so. Like a tic-tac-toe, and I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, so the reason I cut that the way I did, and I'll show you, is I'm going to break it like this. I'm going to break it like this. Then I'm going to flip it. I'm going to break it like this and break it like this. So you're breaking all of the back membrane, the back drywall, but you're leaving all the paper membrane on the front without damaging it. So then you're just going to take all 4 outside corners and the 2 sides. The only thing you're going to save is this middle piece. And all you do is just peel it off like this. Just like that. Flip it around. Peel it off. Peel it off. Peel the side one off and this one off here. Now you have a little piece of drywall on a lot of paper. So what we'll do with this, and I'll show you in just a second. Okay, so what this allows us to do now is to, basically we're gonna put this right over that. We're gonna put the piece of drywall into that square, into that 4x2 spot, and then there'll be drywall paper here. So I'll backfill with mud. The back of this, I'll butter it up a little bit. I'll put a little bit in here. I'll stick this on here like this, and I'll mud this out, and then you'll have basically a perfect patch on the wall with a drywall backer. Fancy that. So I'm prepping all of these areas just because I don't want to get into the mud until everything's ready to be mudded. So I've got this hole is ready to go with my paper patch. This one's ready to go. I'll tape it off and get it ready, and then the other one as well. So what I'll be mudding with is, this is Durarock Easy Sand 5 minutes. So this is 5-minute mud. It will basically set up inside of 5 minutes. I have, and this is what I'll use for the first coat on everything. This one is 20 minute. That'll give us 20 minutes of working time. It does not cure in 20 minutes, but it sets in 20 minutes. So you won't be able to work it or move it after 20 minutes. It'll be solid. And then it'll take another hour or so to dry. I'll put some fans on it, and you'll see how it goes. Okay, here's another thing. Just in case you didn't think you had any options for taping, I'm going to show you we have a lot of options, because that's just what you need. So regular drywall tape, it's just paper. Paper very similar to the paper covering the drywall itself. Second option is called straight flex. This is meant for, and this is a very thick, sort of a canvasy feel. This is meant for more like corners that you don't want to crack. This paper will crack or rip very easily. Straight flex, you can bend it and it will fit your corners very nicely. And you want to put that on with. Sorry about that. My alarm went off, and when my alarm goes off, it kills my sound on my video. So I was talking about straight flex. This is what you just want to use in your corners. You don't have to use it everywhere, just problem corners, usually in vaulted ceilings or sort of like 135-degree corners or something just off of 90. And then what you have also is a fiber mesh tape. This has a sticky back to it, so it makes it easy for doing stuff like this on ceilings, because you can just put it on, cut it, and it stays until you mud. I don't usually like using this stuff, but it is so easy. So I'm going to use that on this upper patch here, and I'll show you how that works. Like I said, I don't usually like using the fiberglass mesh tape. I'd rather use paper tape. It lays flatter. When you sand, it won't burn through as easy. But in this case, I'm a professional mudder, so I know what I'm doing. And you're probably going to want to use it anyways, because you don't have to butter and then stick it on. You can literally just stick it up there and it stays. Just watch. Just knocking down one of the little bumps. I like it to be as smooth as possible. This guy, actually might redo that one. That one lost a little bit of its stickiness because it was the first. Okay, another spot you can use this fiberglass tape is retaping all these corner beads. Corner beads are typically never taped anyways. That's why they crack so much. They're just put on and then mudded over. So if there's any movement in them in the future, they just crack all the time. You probably have them in your home, or if you don't, you've seen them in someone else's home before. It's very common. So the correct way to do this is to dig out this a little bit, flatten it out, and then put your tape right over top of that crack and then remud it. Okay, so I'll mix my 5-minute mud up now. You don't want to mix a whole lot. Only mix what you can use in 5 minutes. So I'll do that along here. I've put a scrap piece of drywall over this countertop so I don't mess it up. And then I have 3 different sizes knives. I have a 4-inch, a 6-inch, and an 8-inch. Those are all taping knives. And then I'll mix it actually with my 5-in-1. Mud unmixed has the consistency of like all-purpose flour. So I'll fill about half of my pan up, like so. Then I'll add water. If you've ever made gravy, this is kind of like making a roux. And if you've never made gravy, you should go to YouTube that instead of this, because this is boring. And now I'm just going to add water a little bit at a time. I'm just going to get it wet. Start mixing it up. And I'll just drag my knife through nice and slowly to start working that water in. And again, once I get this water on here, I've got approximately 5 minutes to work with it. If you make it a little bit drier, you've got less time. A little bit wetter, you've got a little bit more time. So it's starting to activate already. So you don't want to waste too much time once you get started on this process. That's why I like to have everything that I'm mudding already prepared to receive the mud. So I definitely recommend you don't do this at home. Just call me and I'll do it for you. So we can become friends. All right, I'm going to first coat this ceiling with an 8-inch taping knife. This is a first coat, so it does not have to be pretty. It just needs to cover it and seal it. We'll get it pretty on the next 2 coats. Second coat on the ceiling. We'll skim it out real quick. Check the levels, see how we're looking. Gonna need some floating for sure. I told you that when we won't stop. Dos.